Alright, so, what are your names?
Alice Davis.
David Davis.
And when did you get married?
In June the 18th, 1960.
How did you meet?
Actually, when I was a little girl and lived in Cleveland, Tennessee, he came to visit his relatives who lived in my neighborhood. And then we met again when we were getting ready to go to college, or I had already been, because I'm 6 months older than him. So I had finished my freshman year at UT Knoxville, and he was coming to UT Knoxville. I met him at a fraternity party before we went.
Cool.
Ask him what he remembers.
What do you remember?
The same thing.
Oh.
Smart man. What have been some of the most memorable moments in your marriage?
Well, at the birth of the 3 children. 3 girls.
That's true. That's true. And our marriage, our wedding day. And gosh, there's so many. Some of them were just, I can't think.
Another one was our 50th anniversary.
I was gonna say that was a lot of fun. I remember going to that. Not that it was that long ago.
Well, it was. We've been married 53 years now. That's a long time.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, a lot of our friends, the same age, our generation stays married. The majority of them do. Which means that, what, David?
It means that we stayed together.
As one friend said, her husband said, somebody suffered in silence. And then we all said, it wasn't so silent. So in other words, there are a lot of things to work through.
Yeah.
What I said on our 50th anniversary, that when we got married, I said the words, I didn't understand them, and now I can't remember the words, but I understand what they mean.
Yeah. What are some of the highlights you've experienced as being a married couple?
Well, we've had a chance to travel rather extensively to a lot of areas, a lot of places of the world together, and that was.
And with the family.
With the family.
So we've been on some pretty great trips.
Great trips.
And we went to Hawaii one time, and I took about 30 rolls of film of the family. Unfortunately, only 2 came up because I loaded the camera wrong. And on the road to Hana, yes, in Maui, they thought I got lost. I didn't.
Were you loading film or something, or how did they think you got lost? Like driving?
No, we had stopped. Well, he said he had to go find a bush. We were on the road to Hana, and there's no other facility.
Yeah.
So we kept thinking he had fallen off a cliff or something. That's what he's talking about.
Gotcha.
And that was better than feeding the bears.
Yeah.
Was it better than the baboon?
We took a trip to Alaska.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, it's beautiful, but it's so remote. And they have, I don't know, I just can't go into all of it, because we were in a remote area going to the what's the name of that area that we were going to? Anyway.
Kahana.
No. Anyway, it was a different trip, but it was memorable, and we had a camper that we were with another couple, actually our daughter and son-in-law, and we went to Haines, Alaska on 4th of July, and that was just wonderful. Everybody in Haines was on the roadside downtown, and they had the balloons and the tricycles, and they had the, you know, it was just a celebration, so it was really, really nice. But we've traveled to Europe a lot, and to different parts of the world through his work, and just have been able to see more. I'd like to do more of it, but anyway.
So y'all had a good experience, like was it different, like learning to live with each other, like I know like in Europe this summer, like in the smaller area versus the bigger house? Was that a challenging or different experience, I guess, because one, you didn't have a car, and...
You mean renting the flat?
Yeah, like when y'all were...
Oh, the flat was small, but,
yeah.
You know, you just downsize and you just learn to be efficient and...
Without a car, whatever you killed, you had to drag home to eat.
In other words, you had to go to the grocery store and then you had to bring it back. It's about like five blocks away. 7. I didn't do that much. He did. I did the cooking. But anyway, it was fun too. But it was a challenge to us at our age to learn how to get on those tubes and
which underground
railway and go wherever you wanted to, and then get on the right one and then come back. But it was so fun. Yeah. So fun. And we went on trips that you would get on a bus and go out to various, we went to a castle, we went to the rocks. What's the name of that? Anyway. Stonehenge, which I call a pile of rocks. And it actually was very memorable.
Very sacred.
It was. But not to me. It was a pile of rocks. Anyway. What else do you need
crying?
to know?
No, I'm not crying. How did you know he or she was the one? Like the one to marry? One you wanted to be with?
Let him answer that first.
His eyes got bigger.
It was a process of elimination. And she had all of the training and bringing it up that we were very compatible. So, and that's the best way to explain it.
And actually, you know, females are a little different in that I speak for myself. I had prayed for a certain kind of person to be my mate, but I said, okay, God, whatever you would choose for me is what I would like to have, and help me to know it when I see it and am around it. Mm-hmm. And it was funny, after I knew him or met him when he was such a little boy, all through my life I kept thinking, David is a nice name, because I had a good impression of his character or his personality, even from that very young age, because we used to play out in the yard and he was very kind. But
Was.
Yeah, he was. No, he still is. But actually, it was the moment there were several, and it was, what do I really, really think is important? And he met all the criterion, just like what he's saying. And then there was love. That was the main criterion. And also that we both had a faith. You're not talking about that, and you were stronger in your faith than I was.
that I didn't look at it in that same perspective, but it all goes along in the same area.
I would not have married someone who didn't have a faith. I wouldn't have. And you have told me before you wouldn't either. So that was the main thing for us. And with a faith, you can work out anything.
I guess one of the defining moments was in school. It was a cold winter day. She was living in the house, the big house. I mean, the house with all the home ec students lived in.
Home management house.
And it reached a point to where I couldn't get a decision from her, so I went over there one night and said, it's either this or not this. And I said, the decision is yours.
What it was, I kept breaking dates. And he would allow it. And then all of a sudden he said, no more. And that's when I got serious. Didn't I?
Yeah, but I said it had to have a come Jesus meeting and get off the cross. They needed wood for something else.
How has your marriage changed and evolved over the years?
Well, I don't associate it with changing and evolving so much as that when we took the vows, it was for good, bad, or whatever, and so we signed on. I signed on for life, and so we just take it as it goes.
I have to admit that our 50th, I said I had the worst divorce lawyer in the city on speed dial. Sometimes I couldn't get his attention.
The worst or best?
She was to be the best for me, the worst for
okay.
you.
Okay.
But sometimes it's hard to get his attention because he's such a businessman. He's so focused. He stays on that focus, and you have to get his attention. So, but we have come through a lot of good, bad, and indifferent. And
we got the scars to prove it.
That's right. But I don't know what we would have done otherwise, do you?
No.
That's one thing about our generation is that, when we took our vows, we have kept them. And when you do that, that takes away the question of, am I going to keep on with this or not? And honestly, we have been, well, tell them about our church situation.
Well, we've been in church all of our lives. And when we left Chattanooga to go to school and then back to live a while, we joined the church, and then as we came down, we had a little problem because each of us went to a different church, and so we had to make a decision, so we had to compromise and go to neither one's church. And went to a church, First Centenary downtown, because it at that time had a very good youth program. And that's a story.
But the church has been the main part of our lives, because our friends, basically our long-term friends, our church friends, and our family knows all of them, and it has been a succession type of thing. And we're in groups, because we've been in several groups that are 40, 45 years standing. And these are just long-term friends that we've had. And that's a comfort.
Would you say it helps having your friends be like your church friends? Because then they can relate to you on like a more spiritual level?
That's exactly right. That's when you start seeing when things happen, and things will happen to everyone, but not everything is good. So when they do happen, and you may be humiliated about something, or you may be thinking, oh, that was terrible, or whatever, that's when you see the love of Christ in action, and grace. And when your church is like that also, that they are forgiving. And not that there's anything in particular I'm thinking about, but I mean, that just happens in life. Nobody has a clear sailing. But to see that in action in your church, it's very comforting, and it's what it should be.
For the last question, is there any advice you would give to like me or a high school student about like finding that person, the one? I mean, obviously not like now, but like looking, knowing, to know that they're the one.
I think the question, there is not a definitive answer to it. The only question is that if you go into it with prayer and thinking, and you will know the one. I don't think either one of us would have picked either one out of a photo album, but it evolved.
And the more mature you are, I've known, when I was in college, this was something we used to discuss, and the girls we would all say to each other, you know, we just want the right one. We don't want to make a big mistake. This is one of the biggest decisions you make in your life. And so if you are a Christian and you do believe in God's guidance, then as you pray, you are praying for God to show you the one and make it so evident to you. And if there isn't one, to make that evident to you, so that you will live a life that can be of service and fulfilling to you. But my thought is, pray without ceasing that God's will be done in your life.
Well, thank you, and I'm
You're
glad y'all are my grandparents.
Thank you.
I've had some great experiences with y'all, especially this past weekend. So, thank you, and I think that's it.
Okay.